You're listening to Candid Cannabis Conversations, a show where the title says it all. Here are your hosts, Strain Slayer and Blunt Betty.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Candid Cannabis Conversations. I am Blunt Betty.
And I am Strain Slayer.
Thank you so much for joining us on episode 1. Today we are going to get to know each other and let you guys get to know us. I am a medical cannabis patient in the state of Florida.
And I am a medical cannabis patient in the state of Florida as well.
Strain Slayer and I are very opposite people. But yet we kind of merged our lives into this place where we're very similar. But we came from different places in life, I think.
Absolutely.
And we have different experiences that we've brought to the table with us. And saying that, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, maybe a little bit about your childhood or a little bit about your experience with cannabis, whatever you're comfortable with.
I actually grew up in a household that was very anti-cannabis, very anti-drug in general. My parents kind of raised me on the thought that all drugs were equal across the board, so cannabis kind of got thrown in the loop with that. And saying that, I grew up looking at people who used cannabis as lazy, as stoners, as all the stereotypes that the rest of society kind of is pinned on medical cannabis users. It wasn't until out of high school, I'd never even tried cannabis all the way until I was probably about 20, 21 years old was the first time I tried cannabis. Wow. And it wasn't until I had studied the living hell out of it. I actually studied the medicinal properties, everything about it, the chemical structure. I wanted to know how it reacted, and the more I studied, I realized that we had been lied to about what cannabis was. So eventually I tried it myself. I realized that there was no danger to it. I realized it actually did help me a lot with a lot of my ailments and things like that. Since then, I've just continued my studies and just tried to educate myself as much as I can on the plant and spread that knowledge with everyone I can.
When you say drugs, that you grew up and that, cannabis was with drugs and that your parents were anti-drug, were they anti-prescription drug?
They were, yeah.
Oh,
actually,
okay. Well,
definitely, yeah. My mom was big with essential oils and things like that. It was almost like a hippie lifestyle without the cannabis. So
on the opposite end of the spectrum, I grew up in the 70s and I grew up with hippie parents. They were a little young to be hippies, like full out hippies, but they had the hippie philosophy pretty much. They were certainly pot dealers. I can remember that. I have a lot of experience from the time I was a baby, in my grandma's arms, and she wore a roach clip around her neck and I would hit it all the way up until my current medical experience, which is completely nil, and I'm learning as I go. You think you know a lot about a subject, and then you get into a whole new world and you realize you don't know jack shit.
Times change, yeah.
It's time for the review of the week with Strain Slayer critiquing the best medical cannabis Florida has to offer.
All right, so for today's strain review, we've got Birds of Paradise distillate from Grow Healthy. This came in a half-gram syringe. My batch was 75.5% THC. This is a sativa dominant hybrid. I prefer to dab this distillate. The terpene profile is very strong. Grow Healthy reintroduces the cannabis-derived terpenes back into their distillate, which is pretty unique for the cannabis market right now here in Florida. With that being said, it definitely increases the entourage effect. You definitely get a more euphoric buzz with the cannabis-derived terpenes being reintroduced. And the flavor and the smell is greatly increased. The Birds of Paradise, it smelled like very tropical, super pineapple-y with like sweet grape undertones. As far as the high with the Birds of Paradise, it's definitely sativa dominant, hits you right in the head as soon as you hit it. Very uplifting, very euphoric, energetic, but it's also one of the best strains out there for inflammation, so it makes it great for gastrointestinal issues, anxiety, all types of issues, all types of ailments. So as I said, the Birds of Paradise does lean sativa dominant, but with the Blue Heron being one of its parent strains, you definitely can feel the body numbing effects across the board. It's definitely mind and body relaxing, but euphoric at the same time. as counterintuitive as that sounds, that's the only way I could explain it. It was very relaxing, but mentally invigorating, euphoric, extremely tasty. With that strain, I will make the bold statement that Grow Healthy currently holds my personal favorite spot for distillate right now in the state of Florida. You just can't beat those cannabis-derived, terpenes. So it's nice to have something that's strain-specific in distillate and still full flavor. So big shout out to Grow Healthy. I'll definitely be reviewing some new strains in the future. For now, I'm just chilling in a hammock on Paradise. Thanks, Grow Healthy.